Hey, Guru Nation, thank you everybody for watching. This is special. This is a first. Josh, thank you so much for making it a first. Josh reached out to me on Instagram, and I didn't even realize that there's some people in high school following and watching. That's actually refreshing, considering the news, mainstream media throws at us like these high schoolers are degenerates and they just shoot up schools and they're on TikTok all day. Like, no, they're relaxed, guys. They're watching content about clinical research. Josh reached out to me on Instagram and said, "Hey, I'm considering clinical research as a career. Um, can we talk? I don't even mind doing a video." And I'm like, "Sure, man. That's like your what is that front of the brain that doesn't develop till you're like 30? There's a region in the brain. Yours is developed, Josh. Like you have you have the maturity. At your age, you're not supposed to have that. So,
So
man, thank you.
I'm curious. You're in Toronto, right, Josh?
Yep, yes, I am.
So is Dan's explanation or imaging of what high school students what they look like is the same there in Toronto?
Yeah,
Are
pretty
you
much. Like,
Are you degenerates in Toronto too?
I'm not the
TikTokers.
yeah, not everybody's perfect in high school. Certainly me too, but I just want to get to the next step. Ready to go
All
to
right.
university and go further.
Well, that's awesome that you're reaching out and trying to figure out what's the path for what you want to do at this
Yeah,
point in time. Most kids in high school, all they care about is just getting by.
Yeah. And Chris, you see, that's why I'm on TikTok, man. I know Josh came through Instagram, but TikTok, I'm trying to reach that new generation.
yeah. A bunch of kids are
Yep.
used these days.
And I shouldn't use the term kid because you certainly don't look like a kid. You don't act like a kid. You're a young man. How about that?
Thank you.
Yeah, young man for sure, but I still go kid. It's awesome to call
Yeah.
call you
Well,
kid because it's a term of endearment. Um, Josh, what made you even consider like clinical? I was that was the furthest thing from my mind in
yeah.
high
So let
school.
me tell you this: it's clinical research. It was kind of like actually in my life because both of my parents are actually in clinical research. I think
Ah,
and they were always doing these trials, these studies, because both my mom works for a CRO, my dad works for a pharma. I don't know if you've heard of them. My dad works for a company called Roche.
mhm.
It's in Sweden, and it's like a big pharma company.
Oh, Roche, yeah.
Yeah, Roche.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah, of course.
yeah. And he's always just on these trials. I was just when I was younger, I was kind of just curious. I was like, "Wow, okay, what are you doing?" and stuff like this. And he kept on like telling me and teaching me. He was like teaching me about all these trials he was doing, different types of things like randomized trials, like stuff like that. And it was pretty cool how he was like doing like leukemia. There was like brain tumors, all these sites and all these studies on like different types of diseases. And I actually found that really interesting.
Wow. So what your mom is a works for a
So
CRO.
yeah,
She's a
yeah, she works for a CRO called LabCorp.
and I imagine she's a monitor or do
Uh,
you
she
know?
is so my parents are both pretty high up. They do really similar things. They're project directors.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, project directors in both companies.
Well, Josh, we need to connect more. No, I'm just kidding, man. That's awesome. Chris and I own research sites, and then we have a network of sites throughout the United States
Yeah,
um, that we help get studies for. So, like when we hear those kind of individuals, those are the people we try to network with a lot.
yeah, those. Yeah,
That's awesome. I didn't know that. So most kids, sorry to call you a kid again, but most like kind of want to rebel against what their parents do.
yeah. I don't know. It just clicked. Like when they're both doing like similar things, and I was like, okay, looks pretty interesting because I always liked like science and biology and stuff, and like genetics and all that stuff, and like I just kind of saw it as an opportunity, like clinical research. It looks pretty cool. I've been looking over it for the past couple of years. You start at like CRA. Like my dad was a CRA for a couple of years, like back in like I don't know 2000s, and he used to tell me how.
Back in the
Right,
ancient times.
yeah, And he used to tell me all the times how he used to travel and get fat, actually, from just traveling to all these hospitals around the states and just traveling and traveling and traveling. And he used to get fat from the airplane food, the food at the hotels. And he used to tell me he really enjoyed it at a certain point because of all the traveling he had to do as a CRA. So that's
But then
yeah,
you
that's
wanted to like. So were they both traveling like when you were growing up, or how did that
no.
work for you?
It was my dad was a CRA a couple of years before I was born, but then he turned into he was CRA for a company. I forget what it was. Both my parents are from England,
Mm,
and they came there. They were doing their pharmaceuticals there, and then they came here. And my dad worked for a company called Quintiles,
mhm,
and
mhm.
so he's working. He worked for Quintiles, and then he learned. He's kind of builded his way up. He was like project manager or whatever, and then leader, and then director. And he just was doing that. And similar to my mom, but my mom instead of CRA, she started doing computer science. She did that for 7 years, computer science, just doing the data entries and all that stuff.
This may be one of maybe we could have them on the show one day too, if you could hook that up, if they want to. But this might be one of the best interviews ever, Chris, because it gives two perspectives. Not only the obvious is like other high school kids watching, they could learn. I'm gonna like
Sure.
chop this up and put on TikTok, but also the parents who have kid like you know they're watching Josh and they're saying, "Hey, I have a kid who's like 2. I'm a CRA, so Josh is 17." And they get to follow like his parents' career trajectory throughout this interview. This
Certainly.
is kind of cool. This is
Do you,
complex interview on many levels, man.
so
Yeah.
I'm curious, Josh. Do you know your parents' educational level?
Yeah, they both have a bachelor's of science and then a master's of computer science.
Okay, no PhDs.
No PhDs or anything.
Okay,
They both went to Leicester University and in England, and they just got their
all right,
bachelor's.
awesome.
Awesome interview, man. So, what kind of questions do you have for us? I mean, we're
Yeah,
happy to
I really
help and help other high schoolers too.
yeah. I'm in high school and I'm just doing like I hate physics. Just to tell you guys, I don't really like physics,
Yeah.
and I was looking at prerequisites for university to go into because I want to do uh, biology. I want to major in biology, and my parents always tell me if you want to do what we're doing, just get a bachelor's of science degree. And yeah, and I was just doing my research. Then I came upon you, Dan. And I was looking at your videos and stuff on clinical research and all this stuff, and I was like, okay. And you're kind of like teaching of like how to like get into clinical research, and then I was kind of just following those steps. And so yeah, I'm just doing these sciences and stuff. And what I really want to know is that like for university, like how can I how do I say this? How can I really just get there, you know?
How can you get to university? Okay, so first of all, your parents' advice is excellent. It's spot on.
Yeah.
Like you don't even they don't probably don't want you to hear this part. You don't even need a college degree to do this, but they are right. To do what they're doing, you do need at least a bachelor's of science, and of science is helpful. You
Yeah.
get a bachelor of arts too, but a bachelor of science is helpful, especially if you're interested in biology. It's a no-brainer. Their advice is spot on. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
So, as far as getting in this, it doesn't matter which one you go to. Just get in, get your degree, any BS, right? And while you're about to finish, well, while you're at school, try to see if you can like intern or maybe even work
Yeah.
at a one of the
Yeah.
research departments there.
Yeah. That I was actually thinking because my dad, he has an internship at Rush, the company, and he does this internship for second, third year, fourth year students. And I was actually thinking of applying. And I kind of know I like even at my young age, I know this industry is kind of built on a lot of connections too.
Mm.
And I'm really grateful for what my parents do because I feel like my dad can lead me into this internship and help me out at his company at Rush. And so that's what I'm kind of trying to do because there's like a summer program where you just learn like research drug development. And I'm trying to get into that. And you get pretty good pay too, I heard.
Yes. Wow. Okay. Do that. Do you one other thing that's gonna put you ahead of your competitors? Do you have a LinkedIn?
No, I should probably get that.
You need one. Yeah, kids your age don't have one.
Yeah.
then you need to, because that, like, in our industry, LinkedIn is like the social network to
Yeah,
be on right now, and I think for the next decade, it's still, at least it's still gonna be relevant.
yeah,
So I would do that. I would get on there, like, interact with people like me who post a lot, just put comments, and not put comments like as a high school kid, and then when you're in college, put as an undergrad. And we do have undergrads on there. So there's already people like in college with LinkedIn's networking, but that's how you build. If you can start that now as opposed to after you graduate, you'll be way further ahead because you'll already have an established network on there by the
yeah.
time you get your bachelor's.
Okay.
So what's wrong with physics? You don't like the labs, the experiments,
I
putting what you learn
yeah,
into motion?
I actually learned. I was doing physics in grade 11, and then I wasn't doing the best, so I talked to my parents, and I just dropped the class with physics. It was just wasn't me. We were doing something called kinematics and stuff, and like all of this stuff, and these like it
Mm,
was just like crazy for me. So I'm sticking even like chemistry. I know you need chemistry for pharmaceuticals, but I'm
mhm.
more of a bio guy. And even chemistry is like wow, like all this chem stuff.
Well,
But
depending on your BS, you'll probably have to take both in college,
Yeah,
physics
yeah,
and
you will.
chemistry.
I took both. I
Me
molecular
too.
and cellular bio was
yeah.
Yeah.
my degree.
I know chem's gonna I'm not the best at chem, but if I really try, I think I'll be able to be good in university. Cause chem's like I don't know. I know chem and bio go hand to hand, you know?
Ca Chem, alright, Imma give you a little more advice. I wish I should, the book's outside, but I'm relearning all the stuff I didn't pay attention to in college.
Oh wow.
Like, I barely graduated, I got a 2.3. I was pre-med, so
Yeah.
my first 2 years, I was just trying to finish, like, my 2, like, the pre-med requisites fast so I can not even graduate and just go straight to med school. Like,
Yeah.
I was just trying to expedite it, and I ended up taking classes that were way too advanced and getting terrible grades. And so then I had to like choose a major, and then I didn't really care because my GPA is already screwed up. So then I was just coasting. But I'm like relearning all this stuff. Like I have a book on biology, I got a book on chemistry. Like that stuff does come in handy. What at a certain level, like after about a decade in research, and Chris can attest to this too. After about a decade in, you basically reach a plateau where you like kind of stop learning. Like if you don't want to learn anymore, you don't have to, and it won't impact your career. But you can also get bored, and that's kind of where I'm at. So now I'm like trying to learn more on the sponsor side, like how do they design studies? What is the mechanism of action? Like what's the rationale? I'm really into biotechs now. So like I'm going back to relearn all that stuff, and it's still there, like that information it's like somewhere in my subconscious, like when I read I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this. So try to pay more attention if you can, is my advice to you, because it does come in handy, even things like chemistry.
Yeah.
Honestly, chemistry, like at the molecular level, the way molecules receptors bind and all that, it's very important. Chemistry is like how they do it, like how the molecules bind.
You look like you're losing Josh.
Now Josh is here.
I'm here.
Buffering's good. So basically, Josh, pay attention.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah, all that stuff. And I know chemistry is important, because like that's where you make the medicine. That's where you make the actual things that help like patients. It's not all just bio. Bio is like the body and how the chemistry goes into the body. That's
Mhm.
how I kind of see it, and that's why it goes hand to hand. So I kind of have to. I have a hate and love relationship with chem. So I feel like if I really get to know it a bit more in university, I feel like I'll do it.
Well, wait till you get to organic chemistry.
Oh
I
yeah,
hated that. I picked up a smoking habit off of that for a year. Uh, Based on that class, organic chemistry gave me a C minus and a 1 year smoking habit.
Very healthy. Sounds like a healthy glass.
Yeah, perfect Pfizer patient.
But
perfect.
you never answered my question. Why do you dislike physics?
Let's get back to that, Josh.
Well, like I also see it as like I don't know, it just sucks. I don't know,
Just sucks,
like
huh?
like I think it's cool like how a ball bounces and how it comes back up and like oh, did it like you don't have to put deeper into that. Like, there's not like it's pretty straightforward. Like, so like yeah, and especially in the industry, I don't think you'll need physics for especially for biology. Like maybe you'll come across in a course or something, but not really specific. You know?
Yeah, you're probably
Mhm.
right. It's one of those classes that they just make you take so the university can make more money.
Yeah, they take that. It's stupid. Like I have to take it. I'm pretty sure first year and second year, which sucks. And
Yep.
yeah,
No, respect, man, and a shout out to your shirt, Toronto Raptors. Pascal Siakam knows enough about physics to get the ball to bounce up and down,
exactly,
and he also can bounce up and down and
exactly.
dunk, and that's about as much as he needs to know.
That's what I'm talking about, right? You don't. Well,
All right, so do you have are you really like using your parents as the blueprint, or are you using them more as an entry point to the industry, but then you plan to go like your own route once you're in there? And I know you're super young, but
yeah, I'm trying to use them as a guide so they can help me through the way, and I want to get higher than them. Like they made like I'm really proud of what they've done. Like they really like it's like when they say you really start from the bottom and you wake her up. That's really true. You know, like
mm,
you do something for a while and then you keep on working at it. You'll work your way up, and I see my parents as a great guide to like teach me how to get into the industry. And I don't know if I should really do because my dad's on a study. Like studies take time, you know. Like studies, like my dad's like an ecology study. My mom's doing leukemia. Like, and there's like my parents are talking about like autism and like stuff like that. And that stuff looks pretty cool. Like, there's different like studies that I find interesting, especially like on like more on like the other stuff. Like there's like with the mind, like neuro. I know there's
mm,
on neuroscience and stuff like that with the brain. That's pretty interesting. So I really want to go into that.
wow. Do you
Yeah.
ever see yourself like do you consider yourself like an entrepreneur of sorts, or are you more of a employee, or you don't know yet?
I don't know yet. Like,
Mhm.
because my parents are both like they handle science, but they're also more on like business and marketing side too, guys. That's like they direct and like they really have they're like leaders basically. They have a huge team of doctors, CRAs, scientists, project managers, all these people that they have to like just make sure they're doing right. And that like I don't know if I should yeah, and that's they have like that leader mentality, you know? And like hopefully I don't know. So if I can I guess the dream is if I could have my own pharmaceutical company and bring it up there. That's a dream, you know? So
I'm still on that dream too, man. Honestly, that's kind of I wouldn't want to run the biotech. I would like to be involved and use like my marketing skills that I've developed to be involved, but not to be a CEO. Like that's to me, it's crazy, especially once they go public. There's no way, yeah, there's no way I'd be a CEO of a publicly traded company with like doing what I'm doing on TikTok and stuff. Chris, what are your thoughts, man? This Josh is impressive fellow,
Well, actually, I was wondering, you made a statement about your parents that they started at the bottom and they're very successful.
and now they're here.
So in your mind, do you see it as though if you work hard, you will succeed? I'm just curious.
I see it as you work hard and yeah, you work hard and you succeed, but also failing, right? You gotta fail a bunch of times
Yeah,
to see
great
like
attitude. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're
yeah.
You should
absolutely right.
connect Joshua with your son, Chris. Aren't they about the same age?
Yeah, they are. Both 17.
Okay.
Get them both on LinkedIn, um, and unlike Chris, and network with each other.
Does your son wanna like what do you know what your son wants to do?
He's thinking engineering.
Engineer a lot of kids these days are going to engineering. It's
Yeah.
great. Like everybody I know is like engineering or business, you know?
He likes math. Loves math. He's in math AP. I think he's near his next class. I believe is calculus.
Yeah.
So
I
I
hear crack
hated that. I hated calculus.
everyone's
Uh,
telling me
Josh, I thought most kids like these days wanted to be influencers and stuff. Is that not right? Is that a narrative that I'm like a
uh
false narrative?
most kids these days want to, you know, get into like crypto and all that stuff. And like, be influencers too. Like there's a bunch of stuff like especially TikTok has influenced so many kids these days into like doing all these things. Like it's more like the whole era of like technology is really influencing people like me to go into like selling, which is pretty good, like selling things, like selling shoes, uh going into stocks,
Side hustles.
side hustles, basically all these little side hustles. And I don't, yeah, it's a pretty good thing, but
So, do
yeah,
many have an attitude like you? Work hard, you'll succeed.
yeah, a lot of people have that, but you got to write it down on like people say it, I want to see action. Like a lot of
Yeah.
Right.
say this stuff. Oh yeah, uh, keep working hard. Like I said, you gotta fail to succeed. You don't like they say that, but kids these days are how I slowly getting lazier. They see
Yeah,
all
Drake
I
Drake
see it
had
I see it the same way.
yeah
Drake had a rap line about that. He said she's got a business plan, she just hasn't wrote it down yet.
exactly right. Like they're all just like they're getting lazy on TikTok and they're like watching a video like of like motivation and then they're like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and they have that in their head for like a couple seconds, but they don't do anything, right? Like put action to it.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what I believe in.
Guess what, Josh? Adults do the same thing, man.
Yeah.
Chris and I talked to plenty of adults. They got the same mentality. I want to start a
Mhm.
site. I want to start a CRO. That's the one. I want to
Yeah,
start a
and
CRO.
they know little to nothing about political research. They
And these
wanna
are
start a
40,
CRO.
40 and up people, not 17-year-olds.
Yeah,
Yep.
I guess, buddy, right?
It's a human nature, man.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, back to the side hustle thing. I think that's interesting because I actually think our industry has so many. There's a couple of things. Our industry has so many inefficiencies. It actually creates a lot of opportunities, and our industry is so busy, especially after COVID,
yeah,
that we need more people. So those two things create an environment where you can, like, once you get 2 years of experience in this industry, you're basically like a veteran. You
yeah,
can start having side hustles. And I noticed, like, from the young generation, like Gen Z. I'm a millennial. I'm one of the oldest millennials you can be, but like my employee is a Gen Zer, and she's like really good coordinator. We train her in about 4 months. She knows how to run studies on her own.
wow,
And the other day, she was talking to me about her Etsy shop and how she's like designing and selling clothes on Etsy. And not because she doesn't like her job with us, but she just wants like side income.
yeah,
And I think a lot of your generation's like doing that. I actually love that.
yeah. That's pretty. That's one of the pros of technology influencing and kids actually putting it to action and doing this stuff. It's really both ways, Like there's a lot of people that like me, or like trying to do stuff with their lives and stuff. There's a large population of people of kids that are just getting lazy, Like I don't know, like, and I also looked at one of your videos. You said CRAs are in demand right now. Yeah, why is that?
Super. Why is it's a long answer. In short, it's supply and demand. In short, it's nobody's taking the time to train
Yeah. Oh,
people to be CRAs. So there's like a huge demand. There's a huge gap in like the supply of
yeah,
qualified CRAs.
yeah,
And so all the CROs are doing is they're overworking their existing CRAs and occasionally recruiting a coordinator to be a CRA. But even like having that bridge that gap, this is why we started our CRA Academy.
yeah,
Um, we saw back to like the one of the inefficiencies in the industry, and we saw an opportunity. So there's a need. If you can demonstrate, like if you get that 2 years, that's it. That's all you need, Josh.
yeah.
two
That's
years, and if you can get that before you graduate, you can be a CRA when you graduate.
that's back in the day. I feel like it was a bit easier for my parents because my dad got the CRA job right after his university. He
How
got
old
it.
are your parents?
My dad's uh born in 70. Both my parents are born in 76.
Okay, wow,
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
47,
yeah,
something like
yeah.
that.
I'm an '81 baby, so yeah, they're like right, just a few years older than me. So yeah, back in my day too. Um, I think they came right before me. Like when I came in, it's it's kind of how it still is.
Yeah,
It was not easy to get. I couldn't get a CRA job
really.
straight out of college. I applied to 100 places, and
Wow.
my dad was a PI, and that nobody cared. I didn't even get one reply back.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very discouraging. I was like, "Oh, I gotta go, like, work for my dad." I still thought I could go to med school at the time, and my dad had a clinic that nobody knew how to run it, so I ended up having to take it over, mainly because I didn't wanna go find a real job.
Yeah.
So, that's kinda how I got into it. But yeah, it's not much easier, so this like, when you're in school, get that side get that experience, put on your resume, get on LinkedIn, get it in Canada, there's all kinds of organizations you can network with. Canada's really big on networking. I know a bunch of people in Canada I could connect you with that have networking groups for researchers.
Yeah.
If you get that 2 years of experience before you graduate college, you'll get a CRA job.
That's what I'm trying to do. Yeah. So even so when you say experience for CRA, do I have to be into the sites or can it be very something similar in experience? Like if I was working for my dad's company in drug development, is that going to be similar to working for CRA?
Yes. We'll send you this book, um, unless you have it already. But Chris and I wrote this book.
Okay. Yeah. I've
Alright?
heard of your book, but I have not read it yet.
Alright, we'll send it to you. This one I'm holding's for you. But check this out. Alright? Um, bird's eye view, phases and designs, regulations, site level, CRO level, monitoring, CROs and common vendors. That's if you have a good understanding of that and you have a practical skill set in some of those areas, you have enough experience to be a CRA. Usually CRCs become CRAs, clinical
Yeah.
research coordinator. And
Coordinator.
at your university, wherever it's going to be, they probably have research. So if you can be a coordinator or even an assistant and then become a coordinator, by the time you graduate, you can be a CRA
That's
because they
yeah.
need new bodies. Like the
Yeah.
CRA is getting stressed, man.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
people like your parents, they go on, after they're burnt out from doing too much monitoring and traveling, they go to get a stable like position like project manager, like what your parents are at the director level. So that opens up opportunity for new people. They need new people to fill those positions that they left.
Yeah. You're perfectly right. Yeah. That's I need that experience and that would be amazing cuz like I feel like that's a waste of I know it's going to be I don't know if it's going to be hard also with studying too in university, but I need to make that happen. I need to get that experience
Hmm.
in the CRA level.
They go hand in hand. Like if you're learning biology or molecular biology, and then you're doing research. I mean, you can like the protocol, the investigator brochure is going to make more sense.
Yeah.
Mechanism of action of the drug, it's just gonna make more sense. I would have done everything I'm telling you I would have done had I should I have a chance to go back, like, that's probably what I would have done.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
a probably a part of me that would have wanted to actually become a doctor, but then I think I would have been doing the same thing and I might have more liability. So how they say be careful what you choose, like, maybe it's best that it happened the way it did, but if I could go back, I would be more prepared to, like, get started even earlier.
Yeah. And even like even at my age like this industry is not really like heard of at my age, you know? Like clinical
No.
research and trials like it's like nowadays like I don't know how it is in the states, but in Canada it's just business, entrepreneurship, engineering, pharmacy's pretty big, but not like pharmaceuticals into drug development. Like pharmaceuticals there's not just drug development, right? It's this marketing, all this other stuff. But like clinical trials, like it's really unheard of in my age in Canada. Like if you don't have parents that do it, then you don't really know what it is.
Yeah, man, like, when you approached me on Instagram, I looked at your profile and it said pharmaceuticals, and, like, normally, I think someone your age puts that in their profile, they're like a drug dealer or something. Like, what what is that? But no, you're exactly doing it exactly right. If we can help guide your career, that'd be amazing. After we finish this interview, create a LinkedIn.
I will.
Message me there and I will connect you with Canadians.
That's gonna be good. Yes.
Chris,
And
any advice? Or Josh, any more questions?
I have a bunch of questions, but like on spot, it's really hard, you know. But yeah, just get this. How much like how long have you guys been doing this like into clinical? Like how familiar are you guys with like clinical research?
I've been doing it. I graduated college in 2004 and I started in 2005.
Oh, okay. How about
Yep,
you, Chris?
2008, shortly thereafter.
Okay. Yeah, so you guys are like kind of like veterans, you know?
Yeah, and we still don't understand a lot of stuff in the space. There's always room to grow.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier,
You
you
have to,
could stop learning after 10 years,
yeah, I was just
but
gonna say,
that doesn't mean it's not there.
you have to intentionally seek it out.
Mhm.
Yeah. And you know, like another question I just was thinking of is where do you see like clinical research in the future? You guys probably get questions like this all the time, but like in the future, like when I get to that, when after 4 years of university, and you feel like it's going to be the same, or let's say even 10 years or 20 years after, how like what would you see with technology too? How would you see this stuff?
Well, I'll let Chris answer this one first. He tends to have different answers than me on this kind of stuff.
So I'm gonna guess that Dan's answer will be something to do with Meta, right? No?
I don't even know my answer yet. I know the
Okay.
themes, but no, Meta, no, like Facebook, no,
Facebook, yeah.
Yeah, everybody's
no,
gonna be in Meta.
no,
They'll all
no.
be,
The headline came out
Ready
last
Player
week.
Ones.
No, Facebook is cutting all non-essential business. So like all that stuff they thought they were doing, the recession's like kind of
Killing
wiping
it.
those things. So yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
So I know that the industry is pushing for, remote studies, right? Where there's no real sites involved.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
do I think that's gonna come to pass? Maybe, but the problem, and Dan and I have discussed this before, is how do they get the patients? So I think that's unlikely, personally. They're always going to need, until they find a way to get patients without doctors and sites, there will always be doctors and sites. So that would be if you're concerned about that as somebody looking to go into the industry, that'd be something to look out for, right? You may want to think about changing direction potentially if they find a way of getting patients readily and easily.
Mhm.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Chris. I think also there's a few key drivers. Monoclonal antibodies can be huge. Omics, anything with genetics, huge. So personalized medicine. I think we're going to see more studies with less patients uh, in each study, but more total.
Yeah, okay.
But like more personalized medicines is coming. And I
Oh,
think the industry wants a lot of this virtual trial to be done on like personalized
yeah.
medicine. Probably can work, but the problem also is a lot of these diseases you can still solve with molecules and with antibodies, and
Yeah. And
CRISPR only can do so much.
yeah, even my dad was saying like, "Josh, like I don't know if it's going to be when you're in CRA, I don't think it's going to be like how it was 20 years ago when I was CRA, like traveling and stuff. Everything might be
Mhm.
a lot more online." And I was looking forward to like traveling and stuff, so I'm hoping as a CRA there is going to be a little bit of traveling to site.
So, so
Not
your
every
your dad was certainly right during the pandemic, but it's really going back to the way it was in terms
Okay.
of
That's
CRAs being on site, investigator meetings going back to being in person.
I hope it
Uh,
stays like like with hope I'm not saying hoping technology advances. I'm hoping like as a human and as a person I would love to just like do it hands on, you know?
You
mhm.
won't. You'll still have opportunity to travel. I think, and it's not a cop out answer, but hybrid. It's definitely less travel. Like even for our current monitors, we have one that comes in about every 8 weeks. But sometimes, like once a quarter, she'll throw in an extra remote monitoring visit
Mm,
where she doesn't travel.
okay.
And she just did this like a month ago, and Monday she's coming in person. So there's hybrid. It's gonna be hybrid. I think that's gonna increase.
Okay.
So you'll probably best of both worlds. You won't travel as much, but you still get your traveling fix for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
And I do see, like, even, like, virtual and all that, that could be a pro, you know? As in a con, there's pros and cons, like, you can, like, I feel like that would be easier in some ways too, especially with technology and meetings too. Like, you don't like back in the day, you used to have to like travel to like countries to have meetings, and now you can just a click of a button, you can have a meeting with like 10 people from 10 different countries. You know?
Yeah. I mean, look what we're doing, right now. We're having a meeting. If we wanted to, we could go live and have thousands watch.
Yeah,
Hundreds. Not that big time, but theoretically millions could watch if they wanted to.
yeah.
So, yeah, the technology's changing, but it's so slow. And oh, here's another piece of advice for our industry. If you ever want to figure out, like, there's plenty of inefficiencies in this industry. If you ever want to figure out, like, how to solve one of these, just look at other industries because they're always 10 years ahead of ours. Like, other industries are always way, way further ahead than our industry. So it's
What
so easy to predict the future in research.
What do you mean?
What's that?
What do you mean another?
Like, look how other industries adopt tech, right? And what inefficiencies are being fixed in those industries.
Mhm.
Then it becomes easier to predict the future of clinical research. Like, our research is so slow to adopt tech. E-source, like digitized records, are still like not the norm. E-signatures still not the norm, but most other industries, it's the norm. I had a closing on a refinance for one of my homes a few months ago. Eh, First time ever, the closing was done all digitally. I didn't go anywhere. I was on a Zoom like I am now. Boom, sign the papers. Boom. Why can't we do that in clinical research to some extent? So that's clearly going to be brought to our industry. It's just
Yeah.
there's way
Hey,
more regulations here, so it's harder to pull off. But you can predict the future just
yeah,
by looking at other industries.
yeah. Okay. I do have one final last big question. It's just like
One burning question.
one burning question is just like, tell me how, like, my parents have taught me the steps into a study, and just tell, like, there's different types of studies, right? So tell, like, I know there's different phases too, but how does a study, what's the origin of the study? How does it really like start and finish?
Like, once the scientists come up with the idea, or before the scientists come up with the idea?
More like you're given, as let's my parents' perspective, you're given a study. How do you start from there? You're given,
Ah.
yeah, you're given okay, wait, don't tell me, I know the word. It's
Pro,
it starts with a P. It's
pro,
don't tell me, don't
ho,
uh,
ho.
I know this. It's not. Oh my, I'm having
We
a
should play Hangman, but I can't do that with StreamYard. That'd be cool though. You know what Hangman is, or am I old?
no, of course. I know a hang.
Alright.
Damn, it's called
Thank
something.
you.
Starts with a P and you guys are completely, oh, it's
Starts with a P, ends with a L. It's got a T and the C in the middle.
protocol.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go, man. Okay, once they're given a protocol,
Yeah, big protocol.
and they're basically like, sponsor gives your dad protocol and says, "Hey, go to town. We need 30 patients."
Yeah.
Your dad or somebody has to determine how many sites they're going to need for that study.
Mm.
So if they're given 300 and they know based on past experience that each site typically can give you maybe 10 patients,
Yeah.
so you're going to need 30 sites. So now you go to your network of sites. That's why networking is important, no matter the level. You go to your network and you say, okay, I need 30 sites, but I don't want them all from the same company, and I don't want them all in the same region, because then they're competing with the same patients. So we want like some sites in California, some sites in Arizona,
Yeah.
some sites in
All the,
Florida, or if it's in Canada, I mean, I don't know the states that well, but like Nova Scotia, Calgary, all that. So then they have to assign CRAs, monitors, to monitor those sites.
yeah.
and get those sites started with startup regulatory
Yeah.
and then contract and budget, which is what one of Chris's expertise is, contracts and budgets.
Yeah.
So the sites have to agree that the protocol, that they're getting compensated fairly for what the protocol is. They don't always agree. And then you might need to find another site. So once you get your sites, then it's a matter of getting them startup regulatory, IRB approval, vendor. You need the EDC. You need the biostats team in place. You need data management team in place.
Yeah.
You need pharmacovigilance. You need the medical monitor. Then you got to do an investigator meeting, whether in person or virtual, where all the sites kind of meet, just get trained. Then you start the site initiation visit process. Individually, each monitor goes to their sites and activates the sites. Then you make sure the sites are enrolling. If they're not enrolling, you figure out what's the problems. Do we need to bring on more sites? Do we need to hire a recruitment vendor to help? Do we run a central ad campaign? What's our budget? There's a lot goes into this. This is $1 million a day. This was
Yeah.
before inflation, though.
Yeah.
It's probably more after inflation, but before inflation, cost $1 million a day for one clinical trial for one sponsor.
That's crazy.
So it's very stressful. But in a nutshell, like that's the process. And then after the study, you know, or throughout the study, you make sure compliance, protocol deviations, like are they trained? Can we actually use this data at the end? Okay, at the end of the study, they collect all the data, biostats analyzes it, the data management closes out all queries, then they submit the data to the regulatory bodies and
Yeah.
they determine if it could go to the next level or it could get approved or if they need to do another trial. And study directors are incentivized to make sure these things happen on time.
Yeah. Okay. And then there's FDA approval, right?
Hmm.
Or that's my parents handle that too.
Yeah, your parents are generalists, man. Like
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like they've been in this for like sounds like over 20 years.
Yeah.
By that point, you could climb as high as you want.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they know what they're doing. Would love to interview one or if not both of your parents one
I'll
day.
talk to them. I'll talk to them.
Show them this video, man.
Yeah. I'll
See?
show them the video. How can
We're
I?
telling
Bo-
Josh the same things you guys are.
Yeah. How do
You're
I?
welcome. You're welcome.
both at the same time. If at all possible, both at the same time.
Yeah, that would be.
You sure? You don't want to milk
Yeah.
it and do two separate ones?
No, because have you ever done a married couple
No, good
working
point.
in
Good point. No, I haven't. Nope.
Yeah, both at the same
Okay.
time if possible.
Good point, Chris.
Yeah.
We'll do it. We'll get you this book. Like, subscribe, comment, share, guys. Bye-bye.